Hi, you are welcome to Component tab screen. You would have already finished creating Work Center, holidays, and tasks by the time you reach this tab screen. Creating component is indeed very easy if one follows the workflow actually used on the shop floor. Again, a reading of help will help you. We have already defined a procure task, task 1, task 2, and a dispatch task. Say, procurement task brings to the shop floor two components, that is raw material 1 and raw material 2. They are value added by task 1 and task 2 to generate work in progress 1 and work in progress 2 respectively. We now need a third task to assemble them into a final product. We have not explicitly shown entering of assembly task, so why not adding it yourself? We have already added this assembly task under task type manual activity in the task tab screen, as you can see here. You may even define a new work center for final assembly task to run. Feel free to experiment. On left hand side of the component tab page, there is a place where one can enter the component name and its code, whereas the remaining screen has a combo for the task selection at the top with the two adjacent windows below it, showing the input component and output components. We must define input to output component mapping for each task individually. We first define the input and then output expected. Again, reading help is a better choice. In any factory, value addition starts from the raw material stage and ends with shipping with all other tasks in between. Let us select task procurement to begin with. You can see in the input window appears with a predefined component begin getting inputs as a system default for any get input task. Let us enter two components we expect to procure, namely raw material 1 and its code as RM1 and add it to the component list, and second as raw material 2 with its code as RM2 and we again add it to the component list. Procurement tasks cannot have user defined input components. So if you select and drag say raw material 1 to the input window, there will be an error message that is not allowed will be generated here. However, if we drag and drop it to the output window, an error message for select input component will be displayed. So we now select begin getting inputs in the input component window, and then drag and drop raw material 1 to the output component window. Similarly, we may also drag and drop raw material 2 to the output component window. However, there is an alternate method of achieving the same effect. Select raw material 2 in the component list and just click on the plus button on the top right of the corner of the output component window. You will find a similar button in the input component window as well. You can use any method. Press add to save to the factory DB. As you can guess, output component only has relevance when one or more input components are selected. Let us select task 1 from the select task combo above and then again select procurement task. You will see the output component window is blank, though you had entered two components earlier. Now select the input component, that is begin getting inputs, and the output components we had defined earlier now appear. We have finished mapping of input to output components for procurement task. Let us now do the mapping for the task 1. We say task 1 accepts raw material 1 as input and generates work in progress 1 as output. Since the new component work in progress 1 is not defined in the component list, so we do so. So we define work in progress 1 with the code WIP1 and add it to the list. Select task 1 from the select task combo above. Since raw material 1 is the input for this task, we drag raw material 1 and drop it to the input window. We now select this input component and then drag work in progress 1 to the output component window. And we press add now. Let task 2 consumes raw material 2 to produce work in progress 2. So we add a new component work in progress 2 and its code as WIP2 and add it to the list and define the mapping as earlier. Raw material 2 as input and work in progress as output and add it. We now say the final assembly task consumes both work in progress 1 and work in progress 2 to generate final output called the assembled. We add in this new component to the list, the assembled, and its code as ASSM and add it to the list. We also add in both the inputs for this task, work in progress and work in progress 2. First one, selecting final assembly task, work in progress and work in progress 2. We now select both the input components by pressing Ctrl key for the second selection and drag in the assembled component to the output window and press add. Why did we select both input components? As for each, the output is still one, the assembled output component. If we had selected each input component individually, then we will be required to add output component 2 times. We save on effort by selecting both. The last task is shipping. It is rather inverse of get input component. Here we select shipping from the task combo. Here the output component is predefined, that is end component, and one can only add in inputs only. Obviously the final product, the assembled component, is the input for this task. So we drag and drop and add it. First, it is to be noted, it is to be selected first. Then we add it. In case you have wrongly dragged any input or output component, you can right click to erase it and redo your correction. Pressing remove will delete entries from the factory DB. So we are complete with the component test screen. Thank you.